she just can't breed. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So she's cool.
Hey, you copied my background too.
I did.
Very close. Hey, I just came on to make sure everybody got on, and I have to run to Rotary. I double booked myself, so Thursdays don't work so well for me. All right, have fun.
All right, thanks. Oh. Rebecca and Jason, I don't see you, but hello. If they're there, hello, hello.
Is anybody in there? Are you guys even old enough to know Pink Floyd?
I'm
There's
here.
Rebecca. Hello.
I'm eating lunch, so I'm gonna mute myself.
Oh, nice. Okay. Is Jason there? Hello, Jason. Maybe not. I think Mike was going to join us too. He's going to be a little late.
Yeah, I got to drive to Mike's house here a little bit.
Boy, Dan, I talked to Eric, and he's no longer sending business to Karen.
I was trying to be so politically nice about it for the first like 2 or 3 problems, and then I was like, finally, I was like, I don't even need to say anything, man. Like,
Yeah.
I gave him the name that Ed just used to close the that he's known. Like Ed went to high school with some other lady that runs a team there, and she's amazing. Like emails within 6 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, some of these escrow officers just get too busy for their own good.
Yep. So true.
Well, I suppose that I and Dan are leading this little deal deep dive.
That was my impression from the email.
Yeah.
I'm just going for the ride.
Dan, do you have any?
Leading it, because if I am, we're in trouble. I don't know where.
Dan, do you have any creative deals that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I think I have. We're just working on one right now. It kind of a long time coming, but we're it's basically we're trying to develop an RV park, and it's nothing's in stone yet, but we've just started the front end process of due diligence of like talking to landowners and kind of figuring out locations, and working with one of our other friends that's a really good investor to kind of clone what he's been doing in the past. He owns a few of them, and he's kind of guiding us along, because we're looking to long story short is I've been always interested in mobile home parks and manufactured homes parks, and I did some math, and there was an RV park in Northern California that was for sale. I think they wanted 1.8 million, and it was yielding $145,000 net after all expenses. And I was like, well, let's go take a drive down there. I'm actually going down there in August, a couple more weeks, just take a look at it. But other than septic and sewer, water, gas, electric, whatever types of utilities you're bringing in, and basically a bathroom and some paved or graveled, as we've seen in some instances. Their high season, they're pulling in like, close to 6-figure months with very minimal overhead. So that's what we're trying to work on right now. Just kind of break down some numbers and bring in our other investor. He's kind of more of a private money guy, but he wants a piece of the deal to front the cash for development. So yeah, that's what we're working on.
We've looked at mobile home development quite a bit. Our owner, Steven, definitely wants to do one. We've kind of got the impression doing research on them that sometimes it can be more advantageous just in terms of time and resources to buy a distressed existing park versus developing your own, especially because a lot of communities aren't too keen on adding inventory of mobile home parks right now, even though they're needed.
Yeah. That's the same challenge that we've been having too, is that mostly zoning, right? I think I'm not too familiar, but there's the zoning, right? It's like ag 30 or whatever it is. A lot of the farms that are zoned along highways are ag 30, or there's another one that's above that. I forget what it is. But basically it only can be used for agriculture. And then you're going through a long ass process to get that special use variance or whatever. And so, yeah, I agree. Every time one comes up that I can see, I'm like, but the biggest component with those, right, is how many are park owned versus how many are owned by the residents, because I really like the ones that have a good percentage that are park owned, because then you have opportunities to write notes and do other things. So
yeah. And you're looking at RVs or mobile homes, or a mix?
A mix would be preferably. Because what spurred all this is that I had a few listings that were manufactured homes, and I had done a couple advertising campaigns and built this huge buyers list of people who can't get financing, but they got 50 to 75,000. And I'm like, man, there's a need here. There's the supply and demand don't match.
Yeah.
And then I noticed a lot of the parks, after doing a lot of research, had opened up the back portion of the park to move in 10, 20 RV slots. And then those RV slots turned into permanent residents. When things come up, they get on a waiting list, those types of things. So both really. RV parks are actually way more profitable.
Yeah.
But they are much harder to get past through the city. So that's what we've been looking at.
What communities are you targeting?
I-5 corridor, and then other states that we know that there's good cross through traffic. It's kind of and where are there vacation Airbnb demand that people are going to, but hotel supply is down, or hotel quality is down. That's what I've kind of noticed as well. Because some people I've actually seen a lot of people will get in Sprinter vans and rent Airbnbs, but they won't stay at hotels. So it's this weird mix, or if they could pull up and do that type of thing. So, but yeah, it's a $1 to $2 million investment at a minimum to develop.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of something.
So you have private investors or private lenders that you're working with?
We have a private investor that has a significant amount of capital, and he wants to invest specifically in that. Again, I think he owns 2 already. He's a friend of Ed's. So yeah, but it all depends, right? It's how much is that equity stake worth versus borrowing the capital?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what we're working on right now. Ed's actually learning more about that this week. He's with him. So,
well, you guys should keep me posted, because Stephen and I have been looking at something similar for the last 2 years. Actually, we almost bought a property in Sweet Home off Highway 20 and put together preliminary plans and everything. It just didn't pencil, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even though the city was open to it. And the property owner happened to be one of our borrowers who then wanted to do it himself, but then he changed routes and now we're doing a 46 lot subdivision on that parcel. So it's gonna work out.
Yeah, that's still a good, that's still a good outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, we'll keep you in mind because it's in preliminary, like I've been starting to send out letters and try to talk to some homeowners. And I think the biggest thing is getting landowners to like get past their pride or their like, I'm not going to sell my farm and it's going to turn into an RV park. We've heard that like several times after talking to a few people.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you're like, there's a lot of money in here, so we can give you a portion of the profit for the first few years. So we'll see. I like that in manufactured homes. I had one in contract over in Walterville, but my buddy investor backed out. So no more. I think it might be still in the market.
Oh, an existing RV park.
Yeah, it's an existing mobile home park, but it was only 10 slots and there was no room for expansion. Hold on. My dog's attacking something. But yeah, you got to get to 20 slots. $65,000 a lot is what they're going for right now.
Yeah.
So, but you can't buy a manufactured home for less than 120 right now. So,
Yeah.
yep. That's what we're working on.
Well, let's see, it's talking about manufactured homes, thinking of a creative one that we did. We did a property that was foreclosed on outside of Marcola. The land was owned by Chase Bank, but the foreclosure did not include the mobile home, which was still personal property. Our borrower, the buyer, was under contract to buy the land, but he didn't know it until we were about to close that his contract didn't include the mobile home that was sitting there because it wasn't included in the original foreclosure. So we ended up financing the deal, including some money for rehab of the home, even though technically the home wasn't a piece of our collateral, in anticipation that he was going to get clean title to the mobile home and then go through the process of attaching it to the real estate and detitling it. Turns out the prior owner of the mobile home had been deceased and there was an outstanding lien on it by a company that had gone bankrupt. So months and months of research and work on the behalf of our borrower and by me, we tracked down the attorney of the trustee for the lender, paid him off $5,000, got him to release the lien. We tracked down the heirs. There was 3 daughters. We tracked them down, got them to acknowledge that they didn't want anything to do with the home. And then our borrower went through the process, which I didn't know about. I guess you can document that you've contacted heirs to a mobile home if it's sitting on your land. And then after a couple months go by, you can basically deed it into your name because of an abandonment process. There's special forms that you file. So he got clean title a couple months ago, totally rehabbed it. It's beautiful, sitting on like 17 acres, gorgeous property, and basically turned it from, bare land and trees with a shop and an abandoned home to this nice, beautiful, almost stick belt looking house out in the forest. And he's getting a refinance on it, and we'll be paid off pretty soon. But that was a crazy process, going through the detitling of that home and cleaning title and finding the heirs and claiming abandonment. So if anybody has questions about something like that, I've been through the ringer now on a deal like that. So
what do people say when you reach out and you're like, hey, I'm calling about this property you probably have no clue about. that you probably didn't know you inherited. And I just wanted to pay you to sign some paperwork.
Right? Yeah, so the three daughters, there was one of them that was taking our calls. And she apparently was lived in with like three other guys and had some drug abuse problems. And she would, we'd leave her a message, and then like 5 days later we'd get a call, and it sounded like she just like woke up from a bad trip or something. And finally we got her to just say like, oh yeah, I got your letters. And I don't give a shit. It was my dad's old place. You can have it. And then we actually sent her paperwork to sign. We sent her a stamped, return envelope. We also sent her an envelope to send to her sisters to get them to sign off. And she apparently signed it, supposedly, got it notarized and everything, dropped it in the mail, but forgot to put the proper address on the envelope to send it to her sisters. So it got lost in the mail, and we never received it. We tried sending it again, and she just never responded. But we had clearly documented that she had received everything. And that's apparently all that the state needs for the abandonment process. So, and Fidelity Title was fine with that and gave us clean title. So.
Really cool.
Hey, Mike.
I do. Hey, first, everybody, I apologize. Being late is like the most mortal sin in my life, and I got surprised by 2 construction zones, but I knew about one of them, and I should have adjusted. So my bust, my bad. I signed up for this Zoom only because, well, I sign up for most of them, but because Zach is here, holy smokes, and whoever's on here and stuff like that, he the man. And by the way, Dan is the man too. But I is this like a question and answer, like, people ask you things, or I missed the
Sure.
foundation?
Dan and I were just talking about mobile home parks, and then that got me talking about a deal on a mobile home I did. That's about where we're at.
Oh, and so, but the format itself with, okay, we're at noon, you're the moderator, we're just posing questions, or?
We're just workshopping creative deals, and, talking about recent deals that people have done. And hello, Holly.
Oh,
You're muted.
mute.
Still can't.
Yeah, hey, I
There
just
you
got
are.
off a bicycle ride. I'm sorry I'm late.
All good. Yeah, so Mike, would you like to talk about your deal at all?
Yeah, I thought that might come up. We're not done yet, but so far, Zach is an awesome partner, and Dan is an awesome partner, and I am in the process of building my team, because now things start to snowball, and the next 5 years can be crazy. A duplex sign went up a couple months ago, just coming to market soon at the end of my block. And I already had an interest in duplex, and Dan had actually had like an automatic alert. I'm getting emails anytime a duplex hits the market. Well, this is the end of my block. And so I called the seller's agent, and I proposed and sent an email. Hey, how about seller financing? And they had no interest. There were 3 parties that were owners, and they wanted to cash out. So I said, okay, how quickly can I swing this? What do I do? And hey, I'm in AREA, and I call up my hard money lender. And I've never worked with them before, but I had a very good impression of Zach, and I knew this was a situation where I need to grab something fast and then manage and deal with all my other assets and stuff. So working with Dan, and let me say, Dan is he has many top skills, but one of his top skills is strategist. And I come from 30 years in sales, and he in real estate really knows how to use and finesse and nuance all the various tools available when you're making offers, when you're all this. I mean, it's kudos to him.
Thanks.
So we made our first offer, and we had a escalation clause in order to up the offer. We'd outbid anybody else up to a point, and then that came back, and there we learned that we're bidding against somebody else, and the offers were similar, but you don't know. So we did another offer with an escalation clause, and that one worked. And all this time with kind of Zach backing me up. And it's not just, you fill out a whole financial profile, all this kind of stuff. And there's the property itself, and I needed additional collateral, and I own a free and clear, a rental on the west side. And that's a air quote, free and clear.
Yeah.
It is the last item of anything in the Sears family trust. My wife, Terry Lee Sears, her parents, their family trust. Everything was pulled out and dealt with back in 2015. In 2017, we made a final payment buying her brother out, and with a handwritten acknowledgement, very well done, saying I relinquished any right, liability, this, that, everything else. But you need to do a couple more things to pull something out of a trust and file with Lane County, and that involves a quit claim deed and something else, two documents. But we have not talked to Bill, Terry Lee's brother, since January 2017, and in the most kind way, I'll just say he's the black sheep of the family. An example, you could have 14 people for Thanksgiving dinner, and there's 13 people arguing with Bill right at the table. Anyways, so knowing this, I wrote a prose piece and copied the whole team, but it was directed at whoever from Cascade Title would be dealing with Bill. And that was a priority, to reach out, because he could be reticent, he could be reluctant, he could be whatever. So we had like a signing, we had a shift because of travel plans, and then we're waiting for FedEx to come back from Bill. Mind you, in my original alert on Bill email, I did authorize mobile notary to wherever he is, any place on the planet Earth. I think he was in Hawaii on vacation, regardless. So I am a Marine, and a Marine will accomplish the mission no matter what. You make do, you improvise, you figure it out. So I reached a point mentally where I'm not going to allow some loose end to put a kibosh on this. And so it didn't look like, I wasn't sure that I would have my free and clear property to pledge as collateral for this sale. I checked with Zach. I said, hey, just what do we need dollar wise? And he gave me an amount. And so I jumped on the phone with my broker and liquidated that chunk. And I'll say as a side note, I do not wish any untoward on anybody that's in the stock market, but it would be amazing after I pull this chunk out if in the next month or two there's a dramatic correction, and then I look like I knew what I was doing.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope you're wrong.
I still got a lot in the market and a lot of plans. But anyways, so this. The way things should fall together is the funds, actually some funds hit today and some funds hit tomorrow. We got a closing at
Tuesday, 5 o'clock.
Tuesday.
Right.
No, Monday at
Monday.
4. Monday at 4.
Yep. Sorry.
And so we should be in good shape. I will say when this is a learning experience, and my takeaway when working with Cetan funds or any hard money lender, but, and with Zach, great people, great relationships. And I have kind of learned the process. There's ways that you, the consumer, or you, the one that needs to pull off a deal, there's ways that the more you inform them and work closer with them and ask questions, the more you can help them help you. I mean, they're there. It's like, hey, we want to lend money. You know, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
So try to, you know, have a phone call meeting or two or something like, here's the deal, here's what I'm working on, you know, give me the upside, give me the downside, what am I, you know, that's very, very important, because I knew even going into the whole deal that the end result, when I go for permanent financing, I have a magic number. I got to get this down where I have a 30% equity. And I wasn't thinking quick enough that, like, well, if I'm going to pull stuff from the market and take the tax hit next year, do it sooner than later. And I could have done that on the front end, working closely with Zach and everything else. But overall, holy smokes. These two on my screen, they're in the top two corners. And you guys, wow. Moving forward, that's it. You're the only two people I talk to. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Well, it's been fun working on that one. We definitely had to change the plan, but I think it's work out. And you're still going to be able to get Bill's sign off, right? On that other property.
It could arrive today, tomorrow, whatever. But that was one of my questions I was going to bring to this little session is, and you've probably seen every kind of thing with families and stuff like that. Okay, so this is the last item in the Sears Family Trust. And you've seen the document that he signed, Terry Lee signed. If he just says, no, I'm not going to sign, is there recourse? Do we sue him? Do we, you know, what do you know from any experience you've had?
Get yourself a good real estate attorney and show him everything that you showed me. And I think you'd have a pretty strong case to make that he doesn't have a claim on title.
Yeah.
So
If you need a real estate attorney, we got one.
I'm not anticipating him to have any claim on title. It's just like, fuck you, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to sign anything. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, pardon my language. But he could just say, no, I don't feel like doing anything, you know, and it's like, you can't twist his arm. But so is there a way to override or whatever? But I guess, okay, I have a few real estate attorneys and I will parse my questions.
yeah. Yeah, but once you guys have that in your name, you got not only that property, but also your Airbnb with a good chunk of equity in it. You'll be able to maybe leverage those and then start building your empire.
Well, that's exactly my plan. Exactly those two properties. Question for you. I think I want to verify, like, but one takeaway I learned is a private or hard money lender does not like or want to be in a second position. And like the example of my guest house, it's got a market value of 427. It's only got a mortgage of 113. It's got over 300K in equity. But if I were to, in some manner or another, try to pledge it, it's a second position. What is the, and those numbers, what is the risk factor, or it's just, is that a hard and set rule, never second position?
It depends on who you're working with. For us, it's not necessarily true that we require a first lien. If you're pledging it as additional collateral, we can do a second lien. But you can't use, you know, you think you have 300,000 in equity, but we want to make sure that the combined loan to value of the two loans is no more than 65 to 70%.
Okay.
And so that reduces how much equity we can actually use as a second lien. And then being in a second lien position as a lender, I mean, we run through worst case scenario.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, something happens to you and Terry, and we have to go try and take this property back, or it moves into foreclosure or some crazy thing. Well, we're in a position where we're essentially, in order to protect our lien position, we have to buy out the first lien. So in essence, we've got to factor that in as a risk as well. So that's why we try and avoid those second liens. In
Oh, okay.
your case, your first lien is pretty small relative to the property value. There's a good chunk of equity there. And buying out $113,000 first lien position is not that big of a deal. So we could totally leverage that. But I've seen folks with, they wanting to pledge a rental up in Portland, the thing's worth 800,000 and they have a first lien mortgage of, 550 or 600. In that situation, we don't want to be in a second lien on that.
Yeah.
Because we're only using it for a little bit of equity. There's not very much meat on the bone right there. And if, shit hit, so to speak, we're having to buy out a $550,000.
That's okay.
So we try and avoid those situations.
No, that perfectly explains it. And I see exactly the mechanics involved, but very, very good. But then coming from either a private hard money lender perspective or Dan from the real estate investor perspective, what can I do with this property that is late model, high market value, small mortgage? How do I just do a refi on it, or are there other neat strategies I'm unaware of, or what?
For the Danabo
No,
property?
I'm talking about the Airbnb, 427 market value and 113 single mortgage at 3.5, I think.
So one option is you can sell that as a business, or you can put that in a separate LLC and sell that as an LLC with the profit and loss statement at a valuation that matches your cash flow, your net operating income on that property, which in some context for everybody who's listening, let's say you have a duplex that pledges or earns $1,500 a month aside, which would be $3,000 a month gross times 12 months is $36,000. And I think Mike's, yours is close to 50, right?
My Airbnb does, this year actually we will hit 50. This is our 7th year, and so it grosses 50.
Yep. So he essentially, if he just bought a duplex at 5.25, just by hypothetical, right? We can take the net operating income divided by the cap rate for an Airbnb property, and we can look at a valuation of selling that LLC. Obviously, when person buys it, you would pay off the note. When that note is to zero, then you could sell that on owner financing to another investor. Don't want to get into overcomplicated wrap mortgages or all-inclusive deed of trust or anything crazy or creative, but you essentially have a property that is nearly a quadplex in Eugene. So that could be valued anywhere between high fives into mid sixes right now. So but I think the first goal is to get that into an LLC, and it's operating as its own LLC. So then we can sell the LLC.
Thank you.
Yep. And we'll talk about that later.
So you're talking about forming a holding company for the Airbnb, but then selling the entity, not the property underlying?
The property would come with it.
Yeah.
But yes, selling the LLC has more value because he's running. It's not like a standard long-term rental. It's not like a standard long-term rental. It's essentially he has way more liability because he has people going in and out all the time. Yeah. So its attractiveness to a purchaser is going to be based upon it's going to be based upon selling that as a limited liability company. Because it'll already be set up. They'll basically make the transfer. They'll amend the LLC documentation to basically put the new owner and write an addendum or write an amendment to it or whatever you call it, that makes so-and-so the purchaser is now the new managing partner of that LLC. And by doing that, it cuts out from Airbnb world, it cuts out a lot of the liability that somebody is just going to buy that and then have to do it, then form the LLC. Wait, I already have an LLC. It already has some of my long-term holds in that. I don't want it. I want it separate. And that's why you want to keep it separate. Obviously not
Question on the whole overarching point is that I am a host. I mean, that's just a bunch of sticks and boards and stuff. I'm the host that developed the business and the profile for this property over 7 years.
That's
I'm an Airbnb superhost. I'm a VRBO premier partner. I got all their metrics and I'm maxing everything out and stuff. Would I have to sell my management with the property, or without that, doesn't it lose the value? This is not a magic house. It just happens to be run, customer service.
That I'm not unsure about. We always could check on that, but I think if you would reach out to Airbnb and VRBO and let them know that we're going to have a new owner who's going to take over a property that has just a stellar track record and rating. What people don't understand is that it's not just so much the NOI or the cap rate valuation of that property now. It's also the why we're putting it in an LLC, because we're selling a business with like how many 5-star reviews, right? It's like selling a hotel. It's not just so much about, it is so much about the valuation. That's 95% of the value from an appraisal standpoint. But that 5 or 10% of credibility, reputation, visibility, right? That makes a huge difference to a lot of people. So
because I wrote, I will get that answer from Airbnb. In fact, they just sent me an application to be an Airbnb ambassador, which here in the market, I would help other hosts either manage or start up new hosts or whatever. But one thing I did learn from Airbnb is that if I, just a person, not a building, if I open another Airbnb location, perhaps one side of my duplex at the end of the block, I carry over my Airbnb superhost status, and all the people looking at that property have access to my reviews. So again, that's, it carries my status, but that's just sticks and boards. And same thing with my current Airbnb. It's just sticks and boards. It's nice, sticks and boards, but
yeah.
Mike, you want to hold on to your Waverly Street Airbnb, right?
yeah. Well, I mean,
For right now,
I'm open to any idea. I'm a wheeler dealer, and everything has a price. And as I do more and more, this might become more important than that over here, or this or that or whatever. But for 7 years now, my wife and I realized when we subdivided the property that we got the golden goose that laid the golden egg in our own backyard. It takes nothing to do a turnover. And like we've said to ourselves several years ago, we can do this into our 90s. We'll just totter over there and do all this. Or, I might not be so cheap, I'll hire somebody to clean.
exactly. What was I going to say? I'm going to jump off here because I have to go drive over to Mike's to drop off some papers. So, Zach, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, everybody.
See you later.
Yeah.
See you later, Dan.
Good to see you. Bye.
See you in a bit.
So Mike, you could, on that Airbnb, you could look at, rather than selling, you could look at leveraging it further. Who's your current lender on it?
I don't know, I think, Arc Home, and it just changed. So, yeah, it was Arc Home and it just changed to something else. But I have no, is it a matter, do I have loyalty to the lender, or is this a matter of who's the company?
Well, depends on who the lender is. I mean, because sometimes you can reach out to your existing lender and say, you know, I'm looking to do a cash out refinance. Do you have an expedited process, given that I'm an existing borrower, and this is your existing collateral? Sometimes, like some of those big lenders like Mr. Cooper and stuff like that, you can go through a way faster process and they can do it.
Oh, I think it was just taken over by Mr. Cooper. That's why I wrote the check.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give them a call and say, what would a cash out refi for, you know, another 100,000 cash out look like? You know, what's that process? How long would it be? See what the rate would be, given, you know, hypothetical credit score or something like that. They could give you an estimate.
So one, and there's dozens of ways to skin a cat. No, I don't want to harm any animals. It's just an expression. But one strategy presented to me was do a cash out refi, but do it with a financing firm that has products designed for real estate investors, where once they're and I might not even, you know, maybe I'll take a little bit out, leave a bunch in, but switch the mortgage over, and in turn, that is already part of my profile portfolio with them. When I go to do something else, well, they already know they have this here. They got a first position and a chunk of equity or something like that. And I still have to read up on this product, but it's designed for investors, where you put all your property and you end up, let's say if you have several properties and you end up with just one mortgage payment, some simplicity and stuff. But it seemed like there was an advantage where you have this book of business with them. And so when you come up with the next deal, they're able to move a lot quicker. But I want to know if there's any other advantages besides move a lot quicker, because I got you for quick.
Is that like a rental portfolio loan program?
It kind of sounded like that. And like I say, I got to read up on this.
Yeah. I'd be interested in learning more about that. Yeah. Sounds kind of like what we do for builders. You know, we'll get a, you know, commitment together for a builder, you know, basically giving them financing for up to 5 spec homes. And then as they go along, they build one, they sell one, and then they pay it down. And it's kind of almost functions like a revolving line.
Yeah.
Right. Each house individually. It's probably like that, but for rental portfolios. It's kind of interesting.
Speaking of then these larger projects, it is, I don't know if this is like I'm asking private information or if this is bragging information, but Cetan Funds, you have, do you promote how, hey, we got $1 zillion available under management, or what? I mean, what is your size in a dollar amount?
With our fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we have 16 million in assets under management.
Wow.
Our initial funding is going up to 50 million. So we've been growing year over year, except 2020, because 2020 was crazy. But yeah, and we have, you know, our average loan size, I would say, is right around like 400,000. So, you know, we have deals ranging everywhere from, you know, $2 million commercial projects, commercial bridge loans, down to $50,000 bare land residential lot loans, and everything in between. So, in fact, right now I'm simultaneously closing a $1.3 million construction loan over on the coast. At the same time, I'm doing a 120,000 fix and flip loan on a small condo in Wilsonville. So it's like working on all sorts of different size deals.
Do people ever come to you not for a fix and flip, but basically, let's say, maybe they have the opportunity to grab a screaming deal and they know all they got to do is get their hands on it, hold it for like 3 months, and they can turn around and sell it, or maybe even have do people come for this quick, hey, I want to grab something because I know I can flip the deal.
Yeah, that's our residential, rental bridge loan or investment bridge loan. Sometimes those can be flips. I have one interesting one over in Newport that was a huge success for this guy who's an investor out of California, commercial broker. And he bought this property. It was at auction, being auctioned by Treasury, by the United States Treasury, because it was seized by the FBI after they arrested some dude who was like a money launderer or something. They seized this property. I've never seen such a clean title report, by the way. The federal government takes a property, it's like everything is removed. It is super clean. So this guy snagged it at an auction. I think he bought it for $435, and it had like a broken window and like that he had to fix. He fixes the window, and I think like a mini split he had to replace or something. And then he listed it like 2 weeks later for $550. It went under contract in 5 days. And then we were paid off, 45 days later when it closed. Guy, there in like 2 or 3 months made, 6-figure profit just by finding some smoking deal. I'm doing one over here in Springfield that will hopefully close next week. That was a judicial foreclosure. The guy's getting it for $442. And we've got 2 different broker price opinions, our own valuation. We're almost positive the property's worth in the mid 500s. But the only way he can close on this, lender owned REO property at auction is with a hard money loan or cash. So we're giving him a 6-month loan. He's snagging it. He's going to get renters in there, and then he's going to go get a refinance. And, on investment properties, conventional loans, basically the day after you close on it, you can go off of the appraised value, not the purchase price, especially if it's in your personal name. So that's what he's going to do. He may have to go through, we just found out, may have to go through an eviction process. And we're trying to understand how that CDC moratorium affects that, because the prior owner is still in the home. This poor lady, she's like in her 80s or something. So there's some complications with that, but he's going to figure it out, and he's got plenty of equity anyways. So.
And what about these short-term deals? Do you have different terms, or is it negotiation? If someone comes into something where like, I got this screaming deal and I know this is whole thing will be done in 45 days. So I need shorter or like this 3-month window, and how much you can prepay without penalty and this and that. Is that restructured for short deals or what?
It can be. It kind of depends on the situation. But if somebody like that gentleman in Newport, we knew that he was going to immediately flip that property. In that situation, we waived the prepayment penalty. We reduced his origination fee, lessen the upfront cost. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll decrease that origination fee, but maybe increase our interest rate just slightly, just to kind of make up for that difference for our investors. And we'll, lessen his upfront cost, basically, provide the short-term loan. And then if he hits some snag for some reason, and has a sale fall through, and it gets delayed, oftentimes I've seen that we'll be a little bit flexible on extensions, because we went into it thinking it was going to be a 45-day loan, and it ended up dragging on for 4 or 5 months.
Life happens, and that's why I always have plan B, plan C, plan D. But what I'm already 6 steps ahead. I'm thinking to myself, I want to profile all my properties, my business, and my relationship with you, where I can just be at an auction, pick up a phone and say, hey, Zach, can you spot me 500? I got this deal.
Yeah.
If we can get to that point, oh man, we're both gonna make some money.
Alyssa, hello. I saw you jump on the call.
Hey, yeah, I had another call, so I jumped on as soon as I could.
Good to-
So I joined halfway through the conversation, so.
Nice. You got any deals that you wanted to do a deep dive on?
Not at the moment, but I have 2 questions, although I don't know their question. Well, one might. So if I see a listing and it says it's not financeable, that's traditional financing, could I still come to you and say, hey, let's look at this and see if this would work out?
Yeah, most of the time, even if it says cash only, they'll accept hard money financing.
Okay.
But you should have you or your agent, check with the listing agent, and just to verify that.
And okay. And why it is too.
Yeah. And most of the time, they do accept it. So,
Okay.
and in this market, I just got to say, like, I mean, if it's financeable, it's going to be so picked over and the price is going to, go way higher just because so many people are looking. I mean, there's such a shortage of inventory and things like that.
Mhm.
Financing is just so easy to get for lower price points and things like that. But if it's a situation where, you can put in an offer on a cash only or non-financeable property and say, I'm going to close in 5 to 10 days. Like Mike found himself in that situation on his duplex that we were talking about before. You were probably not on the call.
Mhm.
That was one of the reasons his offer got accepted was I got on the phone with the listing agent and said, yeah, we have the cash. It's ready. It's same as cash. You can trust me.
Yeah. So it's shorter closing time, and then it's same as cash because.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I've sort of been pushing those aside, but I'm looking at other areas too. So that's my other question. I don't know if you know any information about this, but is it best if you're buying houses in different states to have an LLC set up in the state you're buying it in? Or can you just say I've got an Oregon LLC and purchase houses all over the country?
That is a good question for a real estate attorney with some experience there.
Okay.
I would assume, I'm not an attorney, but I would assume it's always best to have a LLC registered in the state that you're operating in.
Okay.
I've seen people own rentals here with a foreign LLC, and that in the state of Oregon is okay, but I'm not sure about other states.
Yeah, like California. I'm sure it's better to have a California LLC.
Yeah.
Well, people set up business LLCs from other states because they prefer it over California anyway.
True. I've seen, a lot of people use Nevada and Wyoming.
Yeah.
Just because of some of their laws. But that'd be a good question for an attorney.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it was off topic, but wasn't sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, guys, I have a 1 o'clock appointment, so I have to hop off this call.
Same here.
Yeah, thanks. I like this at noon because then I can jump on and not lose my evening.
Yeah, I do as
I
well.
agree. Good to see y'all again.
Good to
Yeah.
see you, Jeanette.
See you later. Bye-bye, Holly.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.